All right, guys. So if you're in the chat, let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if the volume's all right. And all right, we got one person in here. Oh. So on to week 4, guys. I've got Fantasy Labs pulled up. If you guys want to see any trends for this week, let me know. I can create a trend for you guys. If not, just ask any questions and I'll kind of just answer them through the chat here. What's up, guys? Volume's good. Nice to hear. Bell or Elliott? It's a tough call. I think I've got similar exposure, maybe a little more exposure to Elliott just for the discount. I love Hunt this week for if you're playing any contests that include Monday. He was in my video. Blunt or Brait? I'd probably go Brait. That's a tough call. Not sure how much Blunt's going to play. Duke Johnson or Lamar Miller. I like Johnson's upside, but Lamar Miller is probably going to get a lot more touches, so he might be the safer one. Questions are coming in quick, so I might miss a lot of your questions. Stafford or Watson? I don't think I have any of them in my lineups. Probably go Stafford just for the ownership, personally. I think a lot of people are talking about Watson. Personally, I'm not on him, so if you want to fade him, Stafford would be a pretty good pivot. But I don't really like Stafford too much at his price. I think there's other good options. So on the screen here, you can see I just made a quick Fantasy Labs trend looking at quarterbacks projected to score 18 or more points with ownership projected between 0 and 4%. Stafford's up there, so he's expected to be pretty low owned. Personally not on him, though. Mariota or Watson? I like Mariota. Again, he's projected to be pretty low owned as well, 6,400. More expensive, but I just like him as a quarterback better. I actually like the Titans defense, so that's why I'm not playing Watson. Kicker, I'm not playing. I put a couple lineups in a FanDuel. I forget who I picked for my kicker, though. I usually don't talk about kickers because I hate picking them. So, yeah, just kind of go for a favorite or a team playing in a dome. That's kind of what I like to do for kickers. Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen's ranking really high on a couple of the models I'm using. Love him at the price. Also love Tyrell Williams. So I'm also playing Rivers as well with those two guys. Kaiser and Britt, I won't be playing any Browns. I'm stacked up on the Bengals defense. Someone said Macklin this week. Yeah, I think Macklin's pretty good. Number 1 receiver for his price. 4,500 on DraftKings. I think that's a pretty good play. I have him in a couple lineups. Sean Lee is out, someone said. So Jared Goff. Yeah, I think Jared Goff could be a GPP type play. I'd rather have Gurley in that game, though, against the Cowboys. Freeman in play. Yeah, Freeman's definitely in play. I think he's 7,300 on DraftKings. A little too cheap for the quality of back he is in a high total game. So I got a lot of Freeman. Someone says Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, definitely like him at the price, 5,200. Evans is in a tough matchup, so I could see Deshaun Jackson having a pretty good game. Larry Fitzgerald or Macklin, I'd go Larry Fitzgerald. If you're talking straight up. If you're talking for the price, it's a little closer, but I still like Larry for the price. Do I still like Jerron Brown? So I meant to mention this in my email. I said I would give an update. It looks like John Brown and JJ Nelson are both good to go, but John Brown might be on a snap count. He might only play maybe, I don't think they gave a number, but he might only play some of the snaps. So that knocks down Jerron Brown a bit. So I took him out of a bit of lineups. I did have a bunch of exposure to him, but I still have a decent amount of exposure to Jerron Brown. It's a lot more risky with those two healthy now. He might be a little more limited, get fewer snaps, but I still like him for the price at 4,000. Pretty risky, though. Safarian Jenkins, I think he's a decent play. I think I'm on Jesse James and Evan Ingram at the same price, so I don't think I have any Safarian Jenkins. Maybe one lineup with them. I can't remember. Emmanuel Sanders, yeah, I like him. I like Demaryius Thomas a little bit better in that matchup, but I like them both. Someone said AJ Green. Yeah, I'd be surprised if AJ Green didn't have a pretty big game against the Browns. So I definitely like Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, and AJ Green as my 3 top expensive receivers, but I don't have enough exposure to any of them just because I do like a lot of the expensive running backs this week. So I kind of went more running back heavy for the higher price players, and I didn't get too much exposure to those elite receivers. Yeah, Jordan Matthews, someone mentioned, I like him a lot. 3,900 is just too cheap for him in a game that could get into a shootout. Someone says, doesn't Jesse James have a shoulder injury? Yeah, he kind of injured it last week, but he came back and played and looks like he's good to go. I'd be surprised if he was limited from it, but if you've heard anything other different than that, let me know, because I do have a lot of exposure to Jesse James. Someone said Eagles D. I don't like the Eagles D. I like a lot of the Chargers players, so I won't be playing the Eagles D. Someone said Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, love him. They should be trailing in that game. He should be getting some snaps and some targets. And the Patriots D has been pretty bad, so I'll be on McCaffrey for sure. Steelers defense or Texans defense? I'd probably go Steelers defense personally, but I don't have any of the Texans defense. I've got some lineups with the Steelers D, so I'd go Steelers there. Golden Tate or Fitzgerald? I'd go Fitzgerald personally. I think Fitzgerald's way too cheap in his matchup. Rashard Matthews, someone said, yeah, definitely like him again. I thought the week to be on him was last week when he was 4,200. He's up to 4,900, but he's still number 1 receiver in Tennessee. Still too cheap there at 4,900. Definitely like him, but ownership will be a lot higher. Someone said Andy Dalton. I don't mind the price, but I just don't really trust him yet. I'd rather play some other quarterbacks. But I wouldn't talk you off Dalton just for the price, and you could pair him with AJ Green for a pretty good stack. Charles Clay or Cameron Brate? For me, it's Cameron Brate. I know Clay is going to be a popular play, so I kind of pivoted a bit in that price range. I went more with Brate. Still have a bit of Clay. Jesse James or Clay? If you're going straight up, it's tough, but for me, it's Jesse James. That's a GPP play, though. I think Clay might be projected to score a little better than Jesse James, but for the discounted price, I like Jesse James. Someone said Ellington for afternoon only tournaments. Yeah, I don't have too many running backs, I don't think, from the afternoon game, so Ellington would be a decent play at that price. Marquise Lee, tight end for Jacksonville. He's not the tight end, but yeah, I like Marquise Lee. Sammy Watkins, thoughts on Watkins this week? I like him for the price at 5,900. I don't love it, but I do like it. I think he has the ability to have a pretty monster game, so 5,900 is pretty good for him. Defensive play of the week, I already talked about it, Bengals. I'm all over the Bengals. I like the Chargers for a discount. I like the Titans for a discount. Or actually, they're pretty expensive, but I like them. Brandon Marshall versus Marquise Lee. I like Lee in that matchup. I forget how much Brandon Marshall is on DraftKings, but Lee is 4,500, I believe. So I like him for DraftKings. CJ Anderson, is he a good play? I think he's an okay play, but I'm more on Demaryius Thomas from the Broncos, so I don't think I played any CJ Anderson. I'm basically paying up for running back pretty much everywhere. I think probably the cheapest guy I have, the cheapest guy I have is Bilal Powell and maybe 1 or 2 lineups, but other than that, Mike Gillislee is, I think, 5,400, 5,700, somewhere around there, and then other than that, I'm up at the 6,800, 6,700 range and above for most of my running backs. Eric, sorry, I missed that one. How do I feel about Ebron this week? Don't love him. I don't think I played him, but I wouldn't talk you out of playing him. Julio Jones or AJ Green, that's a tough one. I like them both. For the price, I kind of like AJ Green. He's a little bit discounted, but I think I have similar exposure to each of those guys. Do I trust Bortles? Not really. Tough matchup on the road. I think they're going to run the ball a lot, so I wouldn't be playing Bortles anywhere. I don't mind Marquise Lee, probably his number 1 target there. But I wouldn't play Bortles, I don't think, personally. Although he did win me $150,000 2 years ago, so never get talked out of playing a guy that you like. Antonio Brown or Odell. Antonio Brown all day. Love Antonio Brown this week. I just couldn't really fit him in too many lineups because of the price. He's so expensive. It's a tough week to fit him in there. Odell Beckham or Julio. For me, it's Julio. I don't have much Odell Beckham, but that kind of scares me. Odell could have a big game as well. I just like Julio, Antonio Brown, and Green for the expensive receivers this week. Someone said Powell. Kind of talked about him. I have a couple lineups with him. I don't love him this week, but he is a good running back. I just don't like his matchup. Kenny Britt or Hearns. Can I say neither on that one? But if you want to play out of those two, I'd probably lean towards Kenny Britt, but tough call there. Do I love Le'Veon Bell? Yeah, so I'm a little worried that Bell's going to have a monster game, and I don't really have much exposure to him. I kind of went down to the running backs in a little bit lower than him. I went a lot of McCoy. I like Freeman. I like Gurley. I like McCaffrey. So I didn't spend all the way up to Le'Veon Bell this week, and I think that could haunt me. He's going to be playing probably 95% of the snaps, probably going to get 25 plus touches. He could break out for a huge game. So I do like him, just didn't really fit him in my lineups this week. Too many of them at least. AJ Green or Brown, just kind of talked about that. I like Antonio Brown. I think he's the best receiver on the slate. But for his price, you can maybe go AJ Green. I think Brown's projected maybe a little bit more than AJ Green as far as points, and he's I think maybe $1,000 cheaper or close to that, or $1,000 more expensive. So AJ Green maybe for the price. Phillip Rivers or Goff, I'd go Rivers. I've got some exposure to Rivers today. Don't have any to Goff. Someone said Zeke. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be on Zeke. I don't mind the play at all. I kind of went more towards Dez Bryant, but I do have some Zeke in my lineups. How do you feel about Zeke and Mixon? So just talked about Zeke. Mixon, not on him personally, but I don't mind the play. He's one of the cheaper running backs. I think he's, 5,800, somewhere in there. So I don't mind him at all. I think the Bengals shouldn't have a problem with the Browns today, even though they're only 3-point favorites. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a decent game. Cook or McCaffrey. Personally, I went McCaffrey more, but I like them both. Do I still like Dak and Dez? Yeah, it's my top stack of the week. Love it. Love the price. Zeke the Geek, yeah. Doyle or Ebron. Doyle's dealing with an injury. I didn't really check into it because he's in the Sunday slate, so I wouldn't really. I don't think I'd play Doyle anyways, so I'd probably go Ebron there. Demaryius Thomas, GPP, yeah, like Demaryius Thomas. I'm on him. What do you think about Diggs? I don't like his matchup this week, and I'm off him. I love him going forward. Especially if Bradford can come back, but this week I'm not on him. Kind of worries me. Someone said Diggs or Thielen. I think I have a couple lineups with Thielen in and none with Diggs, I don't believe. So that would be Thielen for me for the price. Tyrod Taylor, quarterback. I didn't play Tyrod Taylor, but I do like the Bills. I have McCoy. I've got some Jordan Matthews. I've got some Clay. So I definitely could see that for the price. Taylor being a pretty good option today. Mixon or Chris Thompson if you're playing the slates that include the Monday game. I'd probably go with Mixon. Freeman or McCartney. I think you mean McCaffrey. I'd go for the price McCaffrey straight up. It's tough. I'd go Freeman straight up though. I like them both quite a bit. Sorry, questions are coming in quick. It's hard to see them all. Joe Flacco and Jeremy Maclin stack. I don't like that personally, but I am a Steelers fan, so that might be biased. But I don't mind Maclin, but I wouldn't stack him with Flacco. I don't like Flacco this week. But you never know. Could win you a GPP. He'll be low owned. Do I think Tevin Coleman will get some looks today? Yeah, he always gets looks, and he's explosive. He gets touches in the red zone too, so he can always score a couple touchdowns, put up a pretty good DraftKings score. I just don't really love him for the price. Freeman's getting the ball a little more these days, so we'll see if that continues. But I don't mind him for a GPP play. I do have him in the lineup. what are my favorite cash plays? So a lot of the guys in my video will be in my cash lineup. I wanted Bengals in my cash lineup for defense, but I couldn't really fit them in with the way my lineup was constructed. So I went down to the Chargers defense, which was $1,000 cheaper. So I don't love that play for cash, but that's what happened. Defense is usually the last thing I'll choose for cash games. Someone said AJ Green, kind of talked about him. I think he could have a pretty big game. Cheap defense. I like the Chargers for a cheap defense. Cooper Kupp, I'm not on him this week. I might have thrown him in one lineup, but I'm not on him too much this week. Palmer and Larry stack. Yeah, I like that. I've got quite a few stacks with Larry and Palmer. Fournette or Dalvin Cook. It's Fournette for me, slightly, but I like them both. Rudolph or Charles Clay. I'd go Clay. Yeah, I think Fournette's probably going to get the ball. He's probably going to rush the ball maybe 20 times today, so I don't think he's a bad play. And he's pretty cheap. What is he, 6,700? So I definitely like Fournette. Someone said wide receiver under 4,700. Tyrell Williams would be my top play there. Gurley or Zeke? I'm going more Gurley. I think he's $400 cheaper. What Patriots running back do you like today? I'd go Gillislee out of any of them, but don't really love it just because you never know what they're going to do. And Tom Brady's been throwing all the touchdown passes there. Brandon Cooks, ? Yeah, don't mind Cooks at all. Definitely have him in some lineups. Jesse James or Clay? I went Jesse James personally. I know more people will be on Clay. I like Jesse James for a lower owned play. Is Eli Manning a good play? I think he could have a big game, but he doesn't put up big DraftKings scores too often, so I'm not playing him this week. Shady or Zeke for cash games? I like Shady personally. I'm all over Shady this week. We'll see how that goes. Someone said Jared Cook. Yeah, I like Jared Cook. He's probably my third favorite tight end this week. Talked about him in my Fantasy Labs video. If you guys don't have an account at Fantasy Labs, I think my link is in the YouTube description. Check it out. Best DFS tools out there. And I also do weekly videos giving out more picks in those videos. Usually posted Thursdays, Fridays, sometimes Saturdays. So check out Fantasy Labs if you don't have an account there already. Benny Fowler and GPP. Yeah, I threw him in a couple lineups. Don't love it, but don't mind him as a cheaper GPP play. Rashard Higgins, won't be on him this week. Again. Brady Hogan or Ryan Julio stack. It's a tough call for me. I don't have any Ryan, though. I have a couple Brady Hogan stacks, but I do like Julio as well. But out of those two, I'd go Brady Hogan. Can I trend low-owned defenses? All right, let's do this here. Someone wants me to make a fantasy trend, so let's try it out. So let's look at defenses. Defenses that are projected. Let's just look at this year. Actually, first let's look at the last 3 years. I think it is 3 years of data. So low-owned defenses that are projected to be 0 to 1% or 2 to 4%. They're scoring 6.29 points on average. Let's see low-owned defenses that are, let's go down to Vegas filters here. Let's see low-owned defenses that are favorites. So if you just go to Fantasy Labs and look for low-owned defenses, 0 to 4%, and the team is a favorite, they're averaging 7 DraftKings points, which isn't bad at all. Decent consistency, 45%. And again, the ownership is projected to be 0 to 4%, and it's often right in that range at 3.2% on average. So that's not a bad way to get a low-owned defense for GPPs. Let's see if we can add in the team being a home team. Let's see if that does anything. So if you add in a home favorite that's supposed to be low-owned, it even goes up further to 7.2. So teams that match this trend this week: Chargers, Vikings, Bucks, and Cowboys. I like pretty much all those defenses. I don't really like the Bucks, but the other three should be low-owned and might make for a good GPP play. Any other trends you guys want to see before kickoff? We've got 8 minutes here. I'm going to log off in like 3 minutes just to double check I've got all my lineups submitted. Marquise Goodwin or Marquise Lee. Straight up Lee, and for the price, I lean towards Lee. Goodwin's, I think, $1,000 cheaper, but I'd probably go Marquise Lee. Anyone got a lot of diversity in week 4, or is it just me? I actually have the opposite. I've got a smaller player pool than normal, probably just because there's only, 12 games on the slate today? Fewer games to play, so I've got less players. Is Doug Baldwin too risky with injury? Yeah, it's tough unless there's someone to swap to. If you're playing on DraftKings, I don't know what you could do there. I'd probably leave him off. I'd probably find someone else instead, but if you want to risk it, he could be a good play. Seth Roberts for Oakland with Crabtree out. Don't mind it too much, but don't really like it in that matchup. I don't think he can do much against Broncos cornerbacks. Who should be getting the most targets on the Seahawks? Depends if Baldwin's in there. I like Richardson for his price for GPPs. Is Bell going to blow up today? Yeah, Bell definitely could have a huge game, and he's going to be low owned. Usually Le'Veon Bell is like 30% owned almost every week. And this week, I wouldn't be surprised if he's, it's tough to guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's under 10% just with how many good plays are around him. He might be right around 10%. So Le'Veon Bell could have a monster game, as always, one of the best running backs out there. Gets sometimes up to 30 touches a game, so I don't mind him. Someone said I'm really quiet. Sorry, I'm trying to talk loud. Turn your volume up if you can. Alex Collins GPP play today. No, not for me. Jamal Charles, no, not. I don't like taking backup running backs too often, depending on their situation, but I don't like him too much given his price at all. Demaryius Thomas or DeAndre Hopkins. For me, it's Demaryius Thomas. Someone said Hopkins ? Yeah, I don't mind him at all. Got him in some lineups. Good price for how many targets he's getting. Mariota. Yeah, I don't mind Mariota as a low-owned GPP flyer pick at quarterback this week. Chris Johnson. He's ranking high in some of the models, but I don't really like him. I think he had like 12 rushes for 17 yards last week. A little better matchup against the 49ers, but personally not on him. I'd rather go with some of the Cardinals receivers at cheap prices. But don't let me talk you off him. He's cheap. I think he's $3,800. Could be a good play. Matt Ryan plus Taylor Gabriel stack. Yeah, it's definitely a contrarian stack that could help you win a GPP. Personally not on that as a stack, but I do have some Taylor Gabriel, so I don't mind it at all. Deshaun Watson, talked about him earlier. He's going to be really popular, so I'm not really on him, but for his price, I could see you playing him and could see it being a good play, so don't mind it. Hopkins, Watson, or Dak, Dez cash games. I'm on Dak and Dez for my cash games. Sanders or Demaryius Thomas. I'm on Demaryius Thomas a little more. Got a bit of both of them, though. Best tight end at 3K. So if you watch my video, I talked about Jesse James. Like him quite a bit. Like Evan Ingram quite a bit as well. But I think he's going to be more popular. So I gave out Jesse James as my play. Someone said I'm all in with Bell this week. Yeah, Bell can always have a huge game. He's probably going to get 25 plus touches. Don't mind that play. He'll be lower owned this week as well. Huge fan. Love you so much. Thanks, man. Do you like Powell or not? I think I kind of talked about this in my email. I have him in a couple lineups, but I don't really like him too much this week just because the matchup. Jacksonville is a good defense, and I think the Jets are expected to score under 20 points. So not too much upside for Powell unless he gets a lot of targets. Or the game just goes how people aren't expecting it and the Jets score a lot of points, then he could have a huge game. Watson going to get sacked a lot. Yeah, I could see that. Rookie quarterbacks usually struggle in their first year. So I like to target defenses playing rookie quarterbacks. Isaac turned 200 into 400 with my tips last year at 14. Thanks, man. Yeah, no problem, man. Good luck this week. All right, guys, 3 minutes. I got to sign off. I got to sign off and make sure I got all my lineups set and everything. So good luck this week, guys. If you guys don't have an account at Fantasy Labs, check out the link in the YouTube description. Follow me on Twitter, tweet during the games and everything. Good luck this week, guys. Hopefully you guys win some cash. Talk to you later.